Hi guys, we've been at sea for a day since we left the Azores and now we've arrived at a new destination. Where in the world are we?
We are on the island of Madeira, which technically is part of Portugal, but it's actually only about 350 miles off the coast of Morocco, and it's actually located on the African continental plate. Does that mean we can say we've been to Africa now?
I think for now I'd like to go there for real someday, but we can at least partially check it off.
Right.
We originally had an excursion scheduled through the ship itself, just one of those hop on, hop off buses, had a wine tasting included to take you around the city, but we decided to cancel that after looking a little bit more into what there is to do on the island and just decided to wing it. We have some plans for the day. Hopefully they'll work out and we'll show you what those plans are here shortly.
Hi, we have two one way.
Well, the first part of our plans were a success. We decided to take a cable car to the top of the mountain here. Got here, or to the bottom, to get in line right at 9 o'clock. We've heard that when a cruise ship is in port, which it obviously is because that's what we got on, the lines can get quite long. So we took it to the top of the mountain here, and we're about to see about going into some palace gardens. We'll show you that here shortly.
So we made it to the top of the cable car, and we are at the Monte Palace Gardens. And so according to our map, it gives us an opportunity to see some artwork as well as some flora and fauna. So we're going to wander through the grounds and kind of take a look and see what we can find.
Just a little bit more about the cable car. We took it to the first stop. It was €12.50 each for a one-way ticket. You have to get off there. You can get on another cable car that takes you further up the mountain to a botanical garden. We chose not to do that because here halfway are these palace gardens, and supposedly the palace gardens are pretty lovely, and we didn't really want to spend time doing two different gardens in the same day. And it was €12.50 also to get into the gardens. If you decide to visit the palace gardens here, be aware some of these trails are very steep. They're all like cobblestone pavements, so it's not tripping over roots or anything like that. But if you're prone to tripping, slipping, and falling like Felicia is, just watch your step as you come through here.
right behind us is the actual palace, the Monte Palace that goes along with the gardens that we've been wandering through. As far as we know, it is not open to the public. It looks all, closed off, roped off, that kind of thing. And also, when we did our little bit of research on it, there was no place that we could see that it was actually open to the public.
Yeah, and a little bit more about the palace gardens themselves from what I read online, so of course it must be true. I don't think many of these plants are very native. When settlers first came to this island in the 1400s, they supposedly burned most of the island to get rid of all the crops because they wanted to turn it into farmland. So all of this southern side of the island that we're on right now was all burned many years ago, planted into farmland, or I would assume for something like a palace garden stand here, all of the plants were brought in. On the north side of the island, in some of the valleys, there are some really old forests that are supposedly been there for thousands of years, and they've actually been
1.8 million years.
Oh, yeah, that's
how
right.
long they've been there. Yeah.
And they were actually designated as a UNESCO heritage site. We had thought about trying to visit it, but it is on the north side of the island, and we have limited time here today, so we decided to stick with what we're doing right now.
So this house that's right behind me wasn't anywhere kind of in the research that we did, but after we got to the island, we kept seeing like various tours that would take you to this type of house out and about on the island. So we don't really know what's up with it, but it seems very unique to Madeira itself. So we might have to do a little bit of research and get back to you on this one. So guys, check out this view behind us. Like, is this not the most amazing thing that you've seen recently?
And this is the very bottom part of the palace gardens. As I think I might have mentioned, everything around here is built into a hill. The palace itself, the palace gardens, and as you make your way through the gardens, I don't know how many acres they are, but it's got to be quite a few. You make it all the way down here to the bottom, and you have this beautiful view of the city. And while we're here, we figured we'd take a moment to talk a little bit about the history of the island, the geography. Like the Azores, or Azores, I don't know. Excuse my pronunciation, I'm pretty much anything ever. This is...
Well, I think Americanized it's Azores, right?
Yeah, probably. So, yeah. But this is the islands of the Madeira. The main island is called Madeira, and I believe there are 3 or 4 much smaller tiny islands. Just about everybody, just over 250,000 people live here on this island here. It is an archipelago formed from volcanoes, but unlike the Azores, these have not erupted anytime recently. I believe it was 6,500 years or so ago, so I can't even tell you if it's classified as an active or a dormant volcano, but it's been quite a while. Also similar to the Azores, it's a bit of a mystery of who settled it first. There are a bunch of written histories throughout the last couple thousand years that mention islands in the Atlantic. They never specifically mentioned this island, but a lot of people believe it could be this one. First officially settled by the Portuguese, and actually supposedly the age of exploration, which began in the beginning of the 1400s. Excuse the traffic in the background here. The early 1400s, during the age of exploration, this is the very first place that was discovered and settled soon after. I believe the town behind us, which is Funchal, was settled around 1425, which is just a few years after the island was discovered. And similar to the Azores, it's basically majority Portuguese people that live here. Control has shifted a little bit back and forth. I believe the British occupied the island for a little while, but it's basically been Portuguese the whole time. And also like the Azores, in 1976, it became an autonomous region, so this is still the country of Portugal, but they have a couple members in the European Parliament, I believe about 6 in the Portugal Parliament, and they control their own government here locally. One of the things they did to kind of grow the economy, because I think the economy actually here is quite a bit better in the Azores, is this port. They made it a free trade port. So a lot of businesses in the last couple decades, they register ships out of here, they register their businesses. It is a little bit more controlled than a lot of the tax havens you hear about elsewhere in the world, but it is a place that they, with the European Parliament's approval, have set a little bit looser restrictions and taxes to kind of get businesses in to grow the economy around here. So I think the per capita income, I don't remember what it is, but I think it's roughly double what it is in the Azores. And you can kind of tell just by looking around the city, it is quite a bit more developed than where we were a couple days ago.
About 20% of their income does come from tourism, which is quite a bit different than the Azores as well. The Azores has a very, they're beginning to build their tourism, but it's not really established there yet. So this has been established a whole lot longer as a tourist destination than that. Casinos, resorts, all those kind of things are here on the island as well. And then, Jeff mentioned too that there's a little bit of a dispute about who, about who settled here first. And of course, the Portuguese under Prince Henry the Navigator kicked off the Age of Exploration, and this was supposedly the first place that he sent people to declare for Portugal. But also, those mice we talked about on the Azores that have maybe some Viking DNA, same situation here. So we've got some mice with more Scandinavian DNA. There are actually 6 species of mice here on the island. They cannot breed with each other, nor could any of them have bred with the original ancestors that they all sort of branched off from, because chromosomally they're so completely different. I think 23 to 40
chromosomes, which I thought was kind of
on the breed of mouse.
Interesting fact that they would even have a different number. It's basically the same DNA but rearranged in a different number of chromosomes. In the 6 species or subspecies that are here, the reason they developed that way is they're actually isolated from each other in 6 different valleys, I believe, on the north side of the island, and it's so hard to make it from one valley to another. They developed separately, and now their DNA and their chromosomes have shifted so much, but they all have the same ancestry, supposedly dating back to the Vikings.
Right, so we are going to work our way down back up there, and we have to walk this time, so there's no cable car that goes from here to the top, and then we'll show you what our next adventure is about to be in just a minute.
How many people are out there?
Dat is procura. Hello.
Hello.
Camera set.
Doesn't matter.
Você tá hidromonte?
Garrafas não aguentam. Só os pau ao vento.
Eu já tá esse que escutou isso.
Bayanda premo wasre dalan. Da grifo tudo. Da comune. Tem sabem onde a gente quer ter o sonho. Então a cultura do mundo. Vou arrancar este malhar.
Chega, vai e mostra esse cara.
O problema foi que
Eu já sabia desse carro.
não tem era o outro.
Estava a ver, está perfeito.
So we just finished the toboggan ride.
Yeah, 2 kilometers straight down a mountain with 2 guys like steering us with a rope and hopping on the back of the toboggan. It was nuts. It was a little scary at times, but it was also super fun.
It was 30 euros for 2 passengers. If you want to ride by yourself, it's 25. We're going to have up to 3 people, and it's a total of 45 euros. and a tip at the end if you had a great time. But not too scary, but we figured we'd better celebrate with a little bit of alcohol. And Madeira is famous for its wine, so Felicia got some of that. I got a beer because that's my drink of choice.
Right, and I didn't realize that Madeira wine also comes in different levels of, sweet and dry. So I got the sweet one, so we'll see how that's going to go.
And we'll cheers, and we'll see how you like it. Let me try.
It's like sherry. It's basically sweet sherry. But
And it tastes
good.
like beer.
There you go.
All right, more to come.
So when you finish with the toboggan, there are a couple ways to get back down. You're only about halfway down the mountain at that point, so you've got another kilometer plus to go after you're finished. So you go down a little set of stairs. Well, you end up at this little cafe and this little souvenir shop, and then you go down a little set of stairs, and there are taxis waiting to take you from there. Or you can just do what we love to do, which is just kind of like walk. It is a really, really steep incline, so if you're not up for that, this is not for you. Definitely grab a taxi, but if you're up for the incline, this is what it looks like. Okay, so we stopped at this little outdoor cafe. There's also an indoor version of it, but this is just kind of a little street cafe that we found here in Madeira. And Jeff got a tuna wrap, and I got a tuna club. So club's pretty much but made with fresh tuna. I got a natural water, and Jeff got a beer. So our total for all of this was 16.85 euros. So that's pretty good. Let you know how it is.
All right, we're back in the city of Funchal, and we're at the Funchal Cathedral of Funchal. We heard from another tourist earlier today that Christopher Columbus visited a church or a cathedral here on the island, and this was his last place he visited before he departed for the New World. I did a quick Google search online, and I couldn't find any evidence of that, so, I don't believe that, but I did see that he visited this island years before when he was a sugar trader and came here, so maybe that's where they're getting it confused. There are a number of churches and cathedrals. I believe the one behind us was built in the early 1500s. Not sure if they'll allow filming inside, but if they do, I'll get a couple of quick shots. All right, well, we're just about out of time here in Madeira. We have to head back to the ship here shortly. Plus, I think we've walked, 7 miles or something? I haven't checked my step count lately. Just a couple quick things we wanted to wrap up here. Our lunch, I'll let Felicia talk about it.
Jeff, I think, enjoyed his quite a bit. Mine, I wasn't thinking about it. This is Europe, and there's something really wonky that they do here to sandwiches, and I kind of forgot because I haven't been here in a year, and that's that they put this combination of ketchup and mustard on every sandwich. There are only 2 foods really in the entire universe that I cannot stomach. One of them is watermelon, the other one is ketchup. So imagine this club sandwich that I had, which probably would have been pretty good, except it was slathered in this mustard ketchup thing. So I picked it apart and ate as much as I could. Had I thought to ask for it without that combination of things on it, I would have enjoyed it, absolutely. So just be aware that is a thing in Europe. When you order a sandwich, almost always it will have that ketchup mustard combination, and usually your fries come with that, or ketchup mayonnaise rather. Usually your fries come with that as well.
A couple of last things I wanted to mention. As we were walking back towards the ship here, we saw that there was a replica of the Santa Maria, because I talked a little bit earlier about Christopher Columbus, so somebody built a replica of it. And nothing we went on today, but we saw that you can do whale watching, you can do snorkeling, you can do other things. Not sure how much it costs, but I'm sure you can look up that information. And they do also have municipal Wi-Fi here. We realized just in the last little bit here when we were trying to upload something to Facebook for friends and family, you just have to log in with Facebook or give them your email address, and it seems like halfway decent speed. We didn't use it all that much yet, but it is available here in a good part of the city. As we were walking along, it seemed to work pretty well.
Also, like right now, we're seated at the base of a tree underneath kind of this botanical garden that we didn't really know about because from down on the regular street, you don't really see it. But we came up on the other side. We walked kind of through by the fences of the garden, and then I saw that there was a sign for the restrooms. And I will say, usually in Europe, you have to pay for the restrooms. So usually they're 50.5 euros or they're €1, and you either put it in a slot or you hand it to a restroom attendant. These ones right here, there is no pay for, so be aware if you do use these. Again, at the top of it's kind of a wall, like off the pier sort of thing, and there's the botanical garden at the top. Just be aware that they are typical park European restrooms, so you can't flush your toilet paper, you have to throw it out, and there is no seat on the toilet itself, but also there's no charge for them.
Yeah. And I think that about wraps it up, and we'll see you at our next port in Lisbon, Portugal.